take a bit of credit myself. We always talked about his game whenever he played, and he used to say, you know, how do you think I done, Dad? And I used to say, you done well, boy. If he had a good game, he used to say to him, you done well, boy, but what about that little ball you should have perhaps played inside or chipped it down the wing? You see the player that was in space, why didn't you do that? And they'd say, well, I couldn't see him, but I say, well, that's what I'm saying about getting your head up looking, and that's what I say about your control. And he'd go quiet and say, yeah, Dad, you was right, perhaps I should have played it. But if you give him, say, how good you were, oh, you was great, what has he got to go for?
Sometimes I think about it at nights and just think sort of how proud he must be. Not that I'm being big-headed, but, you know, for a dad to sort of, as I said, to support a team and go watch a team and all their life, and then their son sort of grow up to play for that team and win European Cups for that team. It's something that any dad would love.
I didn't really know anything about him. I actually met him, I was doing an interview, all of us girls were, with 90 Minutes magazine, and they were going through some flashcards and saying, you know, do you fancy this one, do you fancy this one? And I picked him out and liked him, and that's all I knew about him.
I've had a couple of girlfriends in Manchester in the past. One long relationship, a few years before I met Victoria.
I was actually with Melanie C, and we'd gone up to watch a game.
It was at a Chelsea game, and
you could see they were very attracted to one another from the start.
And they met in the Players' Lounge.
Victoria came in with their manager, and he came over to us and he said, David, I'd like to introduce Victoria.
Just kind of went and started chatting to him.
That's when they swapped phone numbers.
Louise phoned me. I think Victoria got out to a petrol station. I wanted to buy something, and Louise said, Victoria's given her phone number to a footballer.
That was the start of it. The ball was rolling, so to speak.
And I had this phone call from my daughter saying she'd met a footballer, and all I thought was, oh God.
And the rest is history.
God knows how many people are going to be there this afternoon. But it was the same yesterday. You know, the day before yesterday I was in playing at Wembley in the Charity Shield, and it was my turn to be, you know, up there, and then the day after it's Victoria's turn. So it's always, you know, we take turns, which is nice. We both need to be, you know, we both miss it. We would miss it if we weren't involved in that situation. Even over the summer, you know, if we're not sort of doing things and going and doing things, then we get bored, and we always like to be sort of at that stage where we can go out and perform every now and again, and that's both our personalities. There's Victoria. We're going for a drink. Wicked. I thought that was our car. Beautiful. Have you had a drink?
When my signing was taking place, I hadn't seen David for about 2 weeks because he'd been on pre-season training. So he came to the signing with me, and of course children were asking for his autograph. And obviously making the children happy is one of the most important things to us. They're the ones that are going out and making us who we are. And then the press called me.
Desperate. I think Victoria just went back to the old-fashioned way of doing signings. she wanted to go out and she wanted to meet the people and to sign the singles for the people that were buying them, you know. At the end of the day, that's what a lot of people used to do a year, 2, 3 years ago. And Victoria still likes doing it, you know. She was always going to get her critics, but at the end of the day, I think she showed a lot of people what she can do. You know, this is going to take absolutely ages. Do you know that? There's thousands out there. Cheers.
You know, nothing's going to get in the way of our marriage, and nothing's going to spoil what we've got. Anything. Even though, you know, we don't spend as much time now as we'd probably like to. Once we do spend some time, you know, it's not going to be one of them, I'm fed up with you. You know, I'm going out, going back to Manchester for a week. That'll never happen.
We haven't got time to go home, have we? We haven't got time to go home, have we? No. Because you don't even have it. Your mum's coming back to you.
It is hard because we're both so busy, and trying to fit that into each other's schedules is hard, because, you know, she does spend a lot of time sometimes in America, and obviously when she's working in London hard, you know, I've got to be in Manchester working hard myself, so it is hard at times, but you know, we've worked around that, and we've made it work over the last 3.5 years, and that's why we're so strong as a couple.
We're apart a lot more than we're together. But then we're both really passionate about what we do. You know, when I first had Brooklyn, I spent 6 months living up in Manchester, not working, not doing anything. And it was great because I was with David and Brooklyn, but I don't enjoy not doing anything. I have to work. You know, I love my job. I love writing songs. I love performing. I love having a goal. And, you know, every day I think, you know, I wish that I'd wake up in the morning and not want to work anymore. I wish that I'd be happy to be a housewife and have more children and just hang around the house all day. I'd love to want to do that. But there's just something inside me that can't do that.
I think at times he gets a little bit, you know, down when Victoria and Brooklyn, when he realises that, say, Victoria's gone away for a couple of weeks, or, you know, David's gone away for a couple of weeks. Victoria won't be happy. Yeah, I think that's a difficult thing to have to live with, knowing that you're not going to see a lot of your wife or your child. That's the only time I would say that he's probably unhappy. It's when that happens, when Victoria and Brooklyn are around and he's playing football and, you know, whatever, he's happy. That's all he wants. He wants the thing that a normal married man wants. His wife to be there. Victoria wants the normal things that a married woman would want. She wants her husband to be there, a child to be there. And sometimes with the jobs that they've got, it's difficult to, you know, because obviously Victoria's very successful in what she does and David's very successful in what he does, and they can't, sometimes, you know, they have to be apart. And that's when I would say that he does get a little bit down.
I just got to the point where I'm just fed up of it. I don't do many of them, and I don't get like this a lot, but it's come to a point where I miss my wife and I want her here with me, and she's working, she's busy. Nothing I can do about it.
I've never seen you depressed before, really.
No, I don't really get... Well, I do at times, but I snap myself out of it by thinking of Brooklyn or Victoria, or thinking when I'm going to see them both. The last time I can remember I was very depressed when I dropped Victoria and Brooklyn at the airport. And he looked back at me as if to say, "Are you not coming, Dad?" And that killed me. And they're the sort of times I get depressed at. This is one of them, because I've just dropped Victoria at the airport.